Alright, so I'm Savvy Savi, and today we're going to be doing some cross stitch. I've already started this project. It's the Monochrome Eagle. It's going to be all blue, and the color I'm doing now is DMC. This is cross stitching floss, and the one I'm using right now is 3761. So that would be, I think I just dropped my already cut. No, there it is. Haha. So this is the floss. So I know I've already started this one. It's because I decided I would start streaming now. So now I'm gonna try and do the streaming thing. So hopefully I'll do it every time I work on this project. So I really don't know how this works at all, so I'm sorry. So yeah, let's just get started. So I'm not really sure how to do chat. I don't know if I'll be able to see anything. Um, I want, sorry guys, I don't know if anyone's here, but this is new for me. My Twitch, no, I don't know how this works. YOLO. Okay, so here we've got a whole line of floss. So for this part, you have to take about 2 little tiny strands. See if I can get it closer to my camera. So you just take 2. This one, since we already started the strand, there's only 4. So you're just gonna untwist it. And I like to do this trick because it lets me do it a little bit faster instead of unwinding it constantly. So I just go until it's a little difficult. And we move forward like that. And then done. So now, if you've ever sewn, you know that the eye of the needle, the little hole, is usually really small. So instead, for cross stitch, you have a really big-eyed needle. Let's see if you can. So that whole big line is the eye. So it's a lot easier to do it with cross stitch. So I like mine because I wash it afterwards anyway. Now I'm just gonna thread it, which is actually pretty easy compared to hand sewing or even a machine sewing if you ever had to thread that. Drop. Alright, and there we go. First try. Alright, now you just gotta make sure your floss isn't going to go too much. It's always gonna happen, so that's okay. And now, there's 2 ways to do it. I like to knot my beginning strand because it's a lot easier for me. So right now I'm just trying to get this knot to go to the very, very edge. And it didn't work. So I'm just going to take my needle, get it between those 2 strands, and I'm just going to move it up. And that works. Alright, and it's best to double or triple knot it, and always try to do it right on top of one another. Your thumb is your friend. And if you don't get it, it's fine. Just keep knotting, which is what I'm doing. This is kind of interesting, right? Alright, So I'm making this for my grandmother, and I think it would be kind of fun because she cross-stitched when she was a kid, and I've been getting into cross-stitch because of my best friend. So we're just doing this for fun and giggles. So if you can see that, you've got a nice big knot now. It's pretty large. And now it won't go in between these little itty bitty tiny holes that we're going to put our needle through. All right, so this is what I have so far. I've got maybe like a quarter of it done, if that. Now, this is what the back looks like so far. All right, so I don't have a hoop. I have this cool thing my best friend really likes. It's new, so I have the fabric to keep it nice and tight. But this is what we have so far. It's a little you know, messy, but we'll cut these longer strands at the end. I just don't like to do it in the middle of a project because then I get carried away. So now I'm just going to tighten it up because tighter is better to work with, and your corners aren't going to be tight. That's fine as long as you're not sewing on them. As long as you're not stitching on them. All right, so now I'm going to untangle my thread again just to make sure, and we just go like this. I like to do in rows, so I always make the outline of this first, and then I can just absently cross stitch the middles. So here we go. And I'm just going to pause for a second. So this is these are all the colors we're going to use for different parts of this. And I'm not going to show you guys what the finished product's going to look like because I think it's more fun if you don't know exactly what's going to happen next. So I am a bit slow, so that's fine. You don't have to be fast. Everything works out the way it's supposed to. I'll sit like this so that way you guys can see. So you just continue to make X's. So right there, we have a half stitch. And a half stitch is literally just this little itty bitty tiny line. Half. And now it's a cross stitch because you're crossing. Ha 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 ha. Isn't that interesting? Yeah, okay, so then you just make a cross. X marks the spot, and there's a lot of X's on this bad boy. Alright. Once I'm done filling in this part, what's going to be interesting is we're going to start a new outline, which is a lot of counting, so we'll see what that's going to be like. I guess plans, I'm mostly just going to do time lapses of this on YouTube just for kicks and giggles. I'm only going to stream because I've got nothing else to do, so I cross stitch, and my friend was like, maybe you should stream it because people always like to look at things, and I wouldn't mind making a few friends online these days. So yeah, my name's Savi, and I know it's a bit strange. I'll give you 6 months to learn it, and then I'll start getting mad at you. Yeah. So it goes by pretty quick. I think I've put about maybe 4 hours so far into this, but granted, 2 of those hours was just counting to make sure I did the right outline because I don't like to make mistakes, but mistakes are fine. In fact, I have a little plaque on the other side. I'll probably bring it out in a few days or so. It says you make mistakes, mistakes don't make you. And I have to keep it in front of my face because I'm a perfectionist in recovery. But yeah, everything's fine. Fun fact, the eagle is going to be a little odd looking at the moment because there's supposed to be more feather up here. And I'll fix that freehand, which means I won't have this frame to help me to keep it tight and whatnot because the frame is actually in the way for that part. It'll be fine, I think. All right, I'm just trying to make sure you get a good look at what I'm doing, so I'll scoot over a bit. There we go. I don't usually hold it up to my face because, well, I don't. I can kind of see it, but it's fine. However you want to do it. Alright, so now we're at the bottom. So what I always want to make sure of is making sure, right. Alexa, volume down 50%. There we go. All right, so what I like to do is I like to make sure my next stitch for my next row will always, oops, sorry, I bumped my camera. So we always end, or I'm sorry, start. We always start from the back to the next way. So that way, when you come up, you're going to come up from the bottom to go to the top. And then you can start the next line. I know that's kind of hard to see because I'm trying to do it upside down and backwards, but with here, we're going right there. So at the bottom of our latest line, and now we're going over. So it's like that. So in that top square of the square I'm working on, there it goes. And now I can start the new line going up from here. So now I'm in a new square technically, and I'm gonna go over, down, over, and then start working my way up for that specific line. So let's see, we've been live for 11 minutes. Today I think I'm just gonna go until my fingers get tired. So that'll be interesting to watch, I'm sure. I think if I timed it, finishing one full stitch, one full square of cross stitch is about 5 to 10 seconds, depending on how slow I am. So I would say I've gotten maybe, 200 stitches in maybe at this point. It can be very time consuming. I'll have to show some of my other projects here in maybe like a half hour or so that way you guys can kind of see some of the other stuff I've been doing. This one is it's a personal design, so it took me a while, but I did make the pattern that I'm following at the moment. So, and again, you won't see the full pattern until it's done. But if you want to make what I'm making, you can definitely ask in the chat or in Twitch. I think you can message creators. I'm not really sure. But it's no secret. I'm just not going to show you until I'm done because I think it's fun. So, yeah. It's kind of a one-sided conversation. I apologize. I'm not sure how the chat works because I'm using OBS to stream, but we'll figure it out, right? Let's see. I'm new to Twitch in general, right? So I'm usually a YouTuber person, but for Twitch, I'd have to say my favorite creator is Loadma1. She's a jewelry maker and crafter, and she does all sorts of stuff. I love her. She's very sweet. Yeah, I'll have to put her info in my chat or something. I don't know. I'm sorry. So when I'm cross stitching, I usually like to watch TV or maybe some YouTube. I'm a big fan of Cinnamon Toast Ken and Markiplier. But right now I'm listening to lo-fi because I figured that would be easier. Now I get to show you something fun because I didn't do something right, and sometimes it just happens. I actually got a knot, so you can kind of see. Oops, I bumped my camera again. All right, so what we get to do, sorry, is take it out just a smidgen. And oh, I even already unknotted it. So sometimes it's just because you pull too fast and it gets a little cramped. So I didn't even get to show you the best part, but yeah, no knot. So now you just pull through and voila. All right, so now I've completed another row on this end. So you just can't go through the same hole twice because in this, like the hole that you just went through. So because if I do this, I undo the stitch because I was just there already. So you just have to go through the bottom hole now. So that way you can continue for a new strand. So now I'm starting a new row. And I go up. And now I'm going to start going down this row. So this is kind of what it looks like afterward. A nice and squiggly squarish. There are a lot of free strands right here, but we'll get around to it eventually. I think we're going here. I cannot stitch the other way. I just can't. My IQ is low. Let's see. When I upload this to YouTube, I won't have my voice up because who likes voices? They're lame. But yeah, I probably won't do it stream by stream upload. I'll probably just do full project upload. So it's going to be a while before I decide to put stuff to YouTube. And I also just want to make sure that you can see if that's what you wish. I don't know. So what's funny is that I'm actually using my webcam to see my face, right? And I'm using my phone so you can see my hands. And I hung my phone from the ceiling. I thought that would be fun. It worked out okay. Let's see. Right now, all I do is I mostly cross stitch and I sew, and I decorate my room with fancy stuff from the thrift store. Actually, everything you can see right now I got from the thrift store. I got this frame from the thrift store too, but this is it's just my high school class. It's just the only picture I have from high school, so I keep it. It's really cold outside too, and I have my window open and my lights on, just because it's dingy out, so it's not a terrible amount of light at the moment. Enough for me to see. I hope I don't look too ghastly. I know my fairy lights probably cause a bit of an issue, but it's fine. I don't much care. I'm already a goblin. Yeah, there's not too much snow on the ground anymore. Happy November, right, guys? Oh, look there. There's another tangle. So I'm just going to lift it up with my needle, and that didn't quite fix it. There is still a knot. So now I get to do the fun part, and just making sure okay, you probably won't be able to see it. I won't be able to lift it this time. Oh, never mind. It was light, so all I had to do was pull. So I don't like to pull on knots because this is the rare occasion where all the knots I've had so far have been easy to fix. Usually I have to put my needle in between the strings and unknot it from there. And if you pull on those, it just makes it worse. So yeah. All right, ended a new row, so now I'm just gonna go from the bottom to the top corner again. And now another row is done. So now I can start on the stitch just below where I ended. And then I'm gonna go up. And boop. Whoa and la. So, 20 minutes, eh? So yeah, this is the color I'm using right now. This is supposed to be the sky. I will tell you that there will be a sun and some fog eventually, not in this color, but in another. And that's what's all gonna go on this bad boy. Let's see. I love hummingbirds, as you can tell. I was really pleased when I found that at a thrift store. It was pretty expensive. It was like $4, which I know isn't expensive, but I love thrift stores. So yeah, there aren't many things I would buy from a store, but I thought it was fun. And it's green, and green and blue are my favorite colors, so it works out really well. Let's see. Trying to think of things I can talk about, but there's not really a whole lot without external thoughts, but that's fine. So yeah, this is what I would be doing anyway if I weren't streaming, so it works out really well. I'd just be probably listening to some different music. I don't know if you can hear it because it's pretty quiet, but I also don't want to get sued because I don't know those things. And I could not get my smart speaker to play Creative Commons music, obviously. So, I like a lot of music. I like Avenged Sevenfold. I love Nickelback. You can fight me if you wish, but I love Nickelback. Always have. I've known almost all of their songs from like the early 2000s since I was a kid. So even though it's probably a sign of bad parenting, but it's fine. I don't care. So I love them. And AC/DC, Elvis Presley, obviously. All right, so now I'm back to the top of a row. So now I'm going to work on my way down, but in this certain stitch, I've got to go up first. And now I can start working down. So yeah, Elvis Presley. Ooh, a knot. Hooray. Oh, this is a big one. Okay, so I don't think I can move my camera so you guys can see this guy, but that's what it is. This really big one right up here. So let's see if I can't move my okay, so I got some of it done. And if you see one strand, never pull one because you always want them both. Otherwise, you're going to ruin some of your stuff. And it might be harder to fix. All right, there we go. So there's something small down here. Just gotta figure out where I went wrong with that guy. Okay, so it looks like I accidentally went in between a little tiny strand. So now it's not as big as it was. It's just a little tiny loop that got stuck. I'm gonna have to stick closer so that way you guys can see it next time I'm working on it. Yeah, that looks right. Okay, so it's just this little itty bitty tiny loop at the top. Not too bad for a fix. especially because it is it's just the back, so it works out really well. Now we can just mosey on. There it goes. So I guess I'll start talking about other projects I'm going to do after this one. I'm going to be very busy. I'm going to make some stuff for my coworkers because they're fantastic people and I love them. I know. How often do you get to say that you love everyone in your office? I've never been able to say that. So I'm really pleased with life at the moment, thankfully. So yeah, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do a lot of my coworkers are kind of conspiracy theorists, I'm going to say. So they all have this running joke where if it flies, it spies. So, you know, the very typical birds or drones. And so I'm going to make them all variations of that. One of my coworkers is really into patch jackets, so I'm going to make him a patch. And the rest of them, I'm just going to do small framed stuff like this. Those probably won't be as intricate because this one is a lot. It's going to be a lot. So those are probably going to be more simple. Just cutesy, I suppose, is the best way to put it. And let's see, I'm going to make some stuff for my aunt and her family. I got everyone's favorite animal and their favorite color. So I'm just gonna remake their family photo, but with their favorite color and favorite animal replacing them. So I thought that would be kind of cute. Especially because there are 4 of them and I can't do something this intricate before Christmas. Oh, I didn't mention that these are all Christmas gifts, but that's fine. Holiday gifts, I should say. All right, so I made another mistake. Went too fast. So now I've got this good knot. That looks pretty good. I'll have to figure out a way to make the camera come closer eventually. So here's what I'm going to do. I have to put the needle into the strands. Now sometimes it's a little harder. There we go. Haha. Oh, I got too many strands. Aha. And you might need to wiggle it, but this one's not letting me wiggle, so I need less strands. Wiggle. Nope. Now, some people just want to give up. You totally can. Not a big deal. You can always cut it, and if it's long enough, you can do one more half stitch and continue on. But if not, like me, I can't get it to unknot. That's fine. Everything's fine. It just takes a little time. And if you're okay with that, I'm okay with that. But I'm okay with that anyway, so. Oh, here we go. Damn. Dang. Let's see. Ooh, ooh. Ah. Sorry guys, this is gonna take me a minute. Because I refuse to give up. What I love about unknotting things is that occasionally you'll get one of these knots where you do take your dear sweet time with it. Never give up. Never give up. Never, ever, ever. Okay. I'm not giving up. I'm just kind of dumb. Are you seeing? Okay, you're seeing my hair when I do that. Sorry. Don't look at it. Let's see. Ooh. Okay. Alright, hang on. I need some coffee for this. Drink some water. Okay, let's try this again. I know, I'm gonna have monkey knuckles when I'm old, but that's fine. Alright, let's try. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. I see this stupid hole. Nope, that didn't work. Eventually, I'm gonna break this thread, just because I'm being a little harsh on it, but not my fault. I just can't seem to find the right way to untangle this guy. Now I know it should be easy. It's a knot. I did it in 10 seconds or less. But I am just not that talented. Woofed. Well. Da, da, da. Alright. Nope. Eventually, I'll find it. I've only taken the past 5 minutes to unknot this very simple knot. Okay, here's what I'm gonna do. Alright, that's good. We're just gonna see if I can't work it out with my fingers since it's being so rough. Alright. Okay. It's not that guy. Not technically that guy. Nope. Alright, right now I'm just trying to loosen up everything that I can find. It's not working out great. It's fine. At this point, I'm gonna be untangling this one knot. See, I told you. There are these knots that will happen. And it's not your fault if they happen. They're just difficult. Okay. Now, see, I told you guys, I'm not a quitter. That's why we're still here. Happy Sunday, guys. Alright, still nothing. Okay. Alright, I'm thinking it's because I'm being recorded. If oh man, my best friend were here, she could probably do it. but she is not. Alright guys, what do you say we just cut it? I'm gonna cut it because I feel embarrassed. Alright, so what you're gonna want to do is take your scissor. These are fancy sewing scissors. They're very sharp on the top part. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to find that knot and separate it out from my current strand. So that way I know which way I'm going to want to cut, because I want to keep using this part of the string before the knot. So I'm just going to cut the knot exactly where it ends. And I'm going to pull the rest of the string. So this string's going to get reused for sure, just not right now. And now this guy is going to go in. Gotta get it wet so I can actually thread it. Now it's going to go back on the eye. Alright, so now that we're on a smaller strand, you don't want too much of this extra. I don't think I talked about that when I threaded this, but you just want just a little part, and then you can still keep stitching. Just keep stitching, stitching, stitching. I am tired of ads, but I don't want to spend 20 bucks a month. Yeah, so last time I did a 30 days free trial, I canceled it with my internet company because I did, I don't know, like HBO or something. And I just never used it because I don't watch TV. I just watch everything on my computer or on my phone. So I never used it. So I never even signed into it. Like, I kid you not, didn't use it at all. And then I got charged $100 on my card, and that was a no-go. And it took me like a week of fighting with them because I did cancel it. I called them to cancel it because I never got the info to sign in, and I just never got curious because I'm like, oh, well, because, they told me that the trial didn't start until I logged in, and that was not the case. I was very angry at that guy. Like, I know it's not his fault. They don't train very well, and, it's easy to forget something. I know that. I work in the service industry, not a human service industry, and it's just not all that cracked up for training. But on the bright side, I love my job. But I have nothing to do with my life than work. So my best friend got me into this, and so this is what I do. I don't really play games anymore. I used to. I'm not a great gamer to begin with. I die on Halo very easily. I find it frustrating. My friends find it adorable, but it's fine. So, I guess for games, I usually play like Stardew Valley. I love that game. Haven't played it in a while though because stressy and depressy. You know how it goes. But what else do I play? Minecraft. I love Minecraft. My computer hates Minecraft. So that's unfortunate, but it's fine. Okay, so now we're in a really interesting situation. I'm about to finish this line, but there is an extra stitch needed right above it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure I end on that bottom corner in the middle of my middle finger right there. I'm going to end there so then I can start on that bottom, go over, and start going down. It doesn't really matter because I'm on the end of my string anyways, but it'll be fine. All right, so yeah, it looks like I'm going to actually end here anyway on this stitch, on this row. So that's great. I'm glad that worked out so well. And boop. All right, so now I'm going to show you how to end a string. So there's a few ways to do it. You can just tie a knot right here at the bottom and tie off and then cut. But what my friend and I have been doing is we've actually been, uh-oh, what's wrong? Oh, I think it died. Oh no. Yeah, my phone died. Okay, that's fair. I thought I plugged it in and I did not because my string was too short. Well, that's fine. I'm just gonna take this. Oh yeah, so I didn't expect you guys to see that, but yeah, I wasn't kidding. I tied it. So, no phone, which was my other camera for my hands. So, I gotta charge that. So, I guess we're just gonna go in this other direction. Hang on. Let's, turn that off. And, oh great, you can see my face. Alright, so I'm actually gonna just turn my laptop around and we'll work weird. Let's see how that goes, right? Alright, So I won't be able to see what you see. I don't like that. Alright, how about this? I'll do it this way, and then I'll just sit funny. Alright, so, like I was saying, you can just take your needle out, which was a bad idea. So yeah, we're gonna put this back on. I can't see, but it's okay. Sorry, guys. Okay. There it goes. No, there it does not go. Okay. Sometimes they get a little frayed, so it's kind of hard. So I'm just gonna cut that so we get a little fuzz off of it. And we'll try again. I know COVID bad, but I promise I'll wash it, okay? That's kind of the part of cross stitch that nobody knows about. Alright, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna put our needle underneath a bunch of thread, and it's gonna be interesting to try and film. Okay, I can't do this without both hands, so my stitches here, I'm just gonna work it underneath a few strands. I won't be able to show you. Sorry, guys. I'll do it next time. So I'm just gonna, I'll show you what it looks like after I'm done. Now, most people just go under two or they tie off. You know, this isn't a super, I'm not an expert. I should probably say that very, very clearly. I'm not an expert. This is just something I do for fun. Okay, so that's what it kind of looks like, okay? My needle is underneath a bunch of thread. You just barely see it. Now I'm gonna push the needle through and voila. So now we've got a nice line, just like that. Oops, yeah, yeah. See, I did another one too, so just like that. And there you have it. Now I just have a tiny little corner. I'm gonna go do some other work here. I think I'm just gonna keep it like this for now. Sorry, you don't get to see my beautiful face. Yeah, don't bother. It's fine. All right, so now I'm on a new strand. Actually, I lied. I'm gonna use that short strand that we just cut off because of the knot. So this knot is at the very bottom. It's a pretty solid knot. You know, it's funky and distant, but I'm gonna make one more just to be safe because I'm semi-paranoid. And one of my biggest pet peeves is going back and doing something again. Alright, so now because this is like a weird stitch, like a weird end, I'm actually just gonna cut the top of the knot off because I don't want it to get loose or anything. I don't want to get caught in anything. So now we've got this kind of weird knot at the top. Now it's still usable. That's the important part. And it's still knotted. Fun fact. And I can't pull on it to make it unfray. So it's decent. It's usable. And what we're gonna do on the other end is I'm actually gonna cut it again because it's also frayed. So just toss it over there. So now I'm gonna thread this needle with the good end. Usually I thread it first, but we already had a knot, so it's fine. All right, so I leave about a good couple inches or so onto the needle, so that way, you have less pulling to do, but it's whatever you want. So now you see my fabric is all, bumpy. So we're just gonna take this and stretch it out because that's what this is for. Um, After I finish this little corner, I'm actually gonna take it out and finish and rewrap it so that way it's a bit tighter. So I like to go bottom to top, top to bottom, I should say. My bad. So top to bottom. So I just like to go in rows. Makes it easier, um, especially when we get to making a new outline. It's going to be a lot slower than this, which is unfortunate, but it's an interesting process for sure. I'm trying to make sure you can see the stitching I do. Sorry, my phone died. Hopefully you find it fun. So yeah, I'm pretty new to this stuff, but everything's gonna go fine. Um, Sometimes, because I'm so like what I see is the sunlight, so I get to see all the little patterns. So it's getting a little hard to see the holes where you put your needle, but it's fine. I'll just be extra slow. So I hope this is working out for you guys. Let's see. Let's see. Thanksgiving is this week, right? So today's Sunday for me. So depending on where you are, it might not be. But for Thanksgiving, I'm gonna go spend some time with my family, and at least on this side of the city. And then for Black Friday, I'm heading into Minnesota to see some of my friends' family, and then I call it good because yeah, fun times ahead. All right, so now that we're in the corner, there's less and less stitches in each row, which makes it kind of fun, which means it's going to go by really fast. I'm not really going to explain how I go back into a new row at the moment, but I will later. Oh, right, so when I'm ending here, I'm in like the middle, or I'm just not at the bottom of the new row. So what I'll do is I'll actually just do a zigzag stitch so that way I can get to the bottom and then I can work my way up again. Trying to, I don't know, this is weird. Let's see. If I could be any literal animal, I think I would want to be a cat for sure. But any mythical animal, unicorn, all the way. I love unicorns. I have lots of girly and ghoulish stuff around. Slowly but surely, my room will get blacker than pinker, but it's fine. My perfect aesthetic is definitely Monster High. I love it. It's cute and spooky-ish. It's just nice. All right, so fun fact. Now that I'm at the top of this stitch, there's 2 extra spaces, right? So I'm actually going to do half stitches for each one, and then I'll do the other half going down, so that way I can work into the next row. Like, all right, so that's a half stitch at the top, or at the top, right there. There's just one line, and now I'm going to do the same half stitch again. So then it's kind of like a candy cane. You can just barely see it because of the color, but it's fine. And I'm going to go down because I hate to waste string. And voila. So now I can start on the next row. Where the empty one is. And sorry, I lost my other camera. Otherwise, it would be easier to see. But maybe next time. I should probably get a different camera. That might be a good idea. Oh, you know, I could probably use my photography camera. I used to be a graphic design student, but then I got really irritated because the professor I had was awful and just expected us to YouTube everything, and I can't just YouTube everything. I know, shocker, but Photoshop was really hard for me. So was a couple other softwares that we used for graphic design and also for um, photography. So I couldn't do that. So I ended up quitting that track because I was angry. And yeah, it's probably one of the worst grades I've ever gotten. I got a D, which I know isn't bad, but I was really, really angry about it. Still am, but it's fine. So I'm pretty amateur when it comes to photography. Um, I travel a lot for work, so I take it with me, and if I have enough time to stop somewhere that I think is pretty, I'll just take pictures of landscapes, a lot of farm animals. Um, I see a lot of cats on the side of highways because I live really close to a lot of farms, and I travel to a lot of farms. It's super fun, but yeah, so it works out really well. I have plenty of time to do my old lady crafts nowadays and my amateur photography. I do not photograph. I do not take pictures of people very well. They always look horrible. Um, yeah, it just didn't work out well ever. My work phone takes pretty good pictures, but in the hands of eye, no, no. I'm also 0% photogenic. Um, I know a streamer that says that they're not photogenic, but no, the struggle is real with me. Um, so yeah, I'm new to Twitch. I don't want to freak anybody out with my lack of knowledge-y. But yeah, we're almost done. We only have like 3 stitches until we're done with this giant piece, and you've been here with me for at least a quarter of this big one, so. And it only gets slower from here. So I'm just gonna finish it up. I have like 4 stitches left. Really easy, really simple. If you guys are interested in doing stuff like this, I would highly recommend getting one of those high school graphing paper notebooks because it makes it very, very easy to do that. I guess the best way to do it would be to like get a projector or something of the sort and graph paper and outline and then design it the way you want it. What what I did for this one is that I sketched out an eagle and kind of how I wanted the inside to look like, and then I had to color code everything, but I struggled with that. So I just used a DMC, which is what you see in this corner here. This is a color code for the string I'm using at the moment, and that, yeah, that's just it. Yeah, so I just used a program that chose some decent color codes for me that were blue monochrome and called it. Wow, look at that. We're almost done with this color now. So now I'm just going to find my way to tie off. But I'm not going to tie off. I'm actually going to do the string thing where I find the strings on the back page again. Back page, on the back of it again. Now, yeah, most people like, if they do this method, they like to do like a 2 or 3, but I'm paranoid, so I'm going to do like 5. I'm going to do all the stitches I can. Okay, so it looks like that with your needle in. Looks like you sewed your needle on. Alright, so now I'm just going to pull it through. And now I still have a good portion of string left, so I am going to use that later. And now I'm just gonna take off a little bit, not too much. I'm only gonna leave a little bit because now it's basically tied, right? But I also don't want these to. I don't want to cut these just yet. I want to leave them there until I'm done with everything. All right, so now I'm gonna take off everything. So you gotta make sure it's not tight on your fabric first. And now I'm gonna take it off. Now it's kind of new still, so we're trying to stretch it out so it's easier. Alright, and now since I'm on this end, I'm actually going to move this guy. Can I move this guy? Bottom. I can. Okay, I know that probably looks wrong, but I don't really. It's fine, right? Alright, so this is what it looks like. This is the kind of fabric I initially bought because I thought it would be bigger, but I didn't do my math right. But this is the borderline stuff, and I'm actually, after I'm done with this project, I'm going to see if I can sew the sides because it does fray and it's very common. There's a lot of different ways to fix it, so I'm going to try a new way later when I'm done with that one. So this cloth just kind of gave it more friction because I cut this one, or my friend cut this one pretty close, so I just don't want it to get too, I just don't want it to get lost in the stitch or anything like that. So right now I'm just gonna tighten up these little cloth things. So now let me just angle it down a bit. So I'm just gonna tighten these up now that we're at a good point in the project. And I like to make sure that they're where I can get to them pretty easily. This is just bare fabric. It's nothing new to people, but it is kind of thicker, and it's to help stretch these guys, but it's also to help keep friction on the fabric for your cross stitch. So now I'm just gonna lay it flat on here, and I'm gonna actually scoot it over just a bit more, because I am gonna fix this feather, but I'm gonna wait till the very end to do that one. So now, oops. So there's one. There's two. There's three. And there's four. Alright, so now we're just gonna stretch it. And voila! It's nice and flat again, nice and tight. Not a lot of give to it because we don't like give when we're doing this. So now you get to look at my pretty face while I look at my pattern again. Because now I get to count stitches. Yay! Alright, so let's see. I think I stopped at about here. So now I'm pretty much done with the outline for this color for 3761. So now I'm just gonna start doing the little detail stuff, which is a little time consuming. Don't get me wrong. Let's see, I'm on that guy, so I need to go down one. So the easiest way to do it is to use your needle and thread. And I'm actually going to retire this one for now because I'm doing a bit more than just a few stitches. That would be good for like 6 or 7, but it's not. I'm not doing 6 or 7. 6 or 7. So I'm going to take my nice new long piece that I cut a while back. So I'm going to go ahead and thread it real quick. And thread it. And I'm just going to stick it in there. And I'm going to knot the back end. Okay. So okay, so now I'm going to cut the bottom of this knot because I didn't get it as close as I wanted to the end of my thread. So throw over that. Alright, so now that I've got my knotted thread and my threaded needle, I'm going to count from this pattern. So I'm going down one. So down one from my current guy. And then I'm going to go over 3. Alright, because that's the same color. Yep. Okay, so just so you guys can kind of see where I'm going, I'm going to go in here. So what I do is I put my needle where I'm going to start, especially when you're counting, and just wiggle it around. So it's a bit of a bigger hole. It's right hang on, I gotta find it on the side. Right here. So there's a bigger hole so that we can see it easily. Now I'm just gonna start doing it. So this one, I needed to go, there's gonna be 2 rows of 3 for sure. Now this is the hard part because it's not an outline. This is just the detail for this color towards the bottom. So I am just, let me angle it down again for you. So that's 1, now I need a second. Oh, and you can see how it almost knotted in the back because I'm doing it in the sunlight. So that's fun. I should probably get a lamp for over here. Alright, so now I'm going to go over for the second strand, the second row, if you will, or column, I guess it would be called. And I'm gonna go up because I want to make sure I get everything in the same go. Like I mentioned, I hate backtracking. All right. And if anyone's on who's new, I'm gonna apologize. I don't know how to Twitch, so I'm just gonna. Oh, there we go. I learned how to Twitch. Okay. Anyways, no. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna. I'm not showing you guys the pattern because I want it to be a surprise. But I will, if you want the pattern, I will give it to you. I'll probably post it, maybe on Reddit or something. I don't know yet. I'll figure out a way. Media is not my strong suit. Okay, so this is the third row. Column, I don't know. I'm 3 in, and that's what I counted out so far because I'm doing the little things right now. So now that I know I'm done on this end, and now I just have to pull the stitch through one more time. I'm going to set that down, and I'm going to look at where I'm at. So I need to go down one more, down, over. Okay, so yeah, this is going to be kind of complicated. It's going to be interesting, that's for sure, my guys. Okay, so I'm going down. Oops. Hang on, I pulled this stray end on my last guy. Hang on. So what I'm doing is I'm just picking at the back because I got a stray somehow. Some way, somehow, I'm gonna make right now. There it goes. Okay. Okay. So now that I fixed that, I'm gonna start going down. Oh, no, I'm not. I just unstitched it. My bad. Alright, so I need to go down. Do. And then kitty corner. And then I'm gonna go up 3, up 2 after this one, I suppose. Now you don't want to pull too tight on these guys because, then you might mess up, and that's why these frames or hoops, however, whichever way you prefer, are really useful. I'll actually go get a hoop in a second, so that way you can see the difference. And I usually like hoops more, but my best friend got me into this one, and it works out really well, especially because I like to take my cross stitch when I travel. So this makes it really easy. I can just take it off and put it on really easily. While hoops are a little difficult. Not because they're hard, it's just because they keep their shape really well, which is awesome, but you can't take it off and put it on unless they're kind of old and flexible, I should say. Now see, the string is long, so it just keeps getting caught on the corner, but that's fine. As long as you don't pull too hard. Okay, so I'm done with that part. Just gonna take a look at the pattern again because I can't count. Alright, over 2. Alright, so now I'm gonna go over 2 on this side. Ooh, big stretch. Alright. We're making progress, guys. Alright, we're doing it for an hour 10. That's fine, right? really know how long streams usually are, but YOLO. Am I right? I'm sorry. You know the meme where, you do something ironically and it no longer becomes ironic for you? That's me, my lifestyle. Alright. So I went over to, but now I just want to make really sure, because again, I hate backtracking, and while I'm okay with mistakes, I just don't want to deal with it. Alright, so we're doing 2 rows of 3 again. It's fine. I'm going to go over a bunch. Totally fine. We're going to be slow with it. Alright, go up. So with this guy, I'm just going to do a couple half stitches real quick. And I'm going to move down. To do this way, it's a bit easier for me to not backtrack. And I can still get progress on it. So yeah, this is what I do with my day. I work a lot, but I'm recovering from being a workaholic also. So slowly but surely. Okay, so now I'm done with that row, column, whatever you want to call it. I don't know. I'm just going to scooch over. I'm going to start the next line. Row, column, I don't know. Not a mathematician. I'm just following semi-directions. You would think because I drew it, I would actually know where I'm going, but the colors aren't my choosing. I just chose blue and monochrome on this color picker program for string, and they just told me which colors to have. And I'm actually really mad because my best friend bought me a ton of floss, and I forgot to look through it before I went and bought thread. Not that it's expensive. I think like if you wanted to buy a kit at Walmart, that's what I started with. It was like $10. That was really easy to start with. It's just I chose a lot of thread, so I think I spent maybe $10 on all this thread, which isn't a lot, especially because there's way too much on here to because this is just one project, right? So I'll have plenty of thread afterwards, like plenty. All right, so now I'm done with this second set of stitches. So now I'm just gonna look at my pattern again. Okay, where's my tracker? Oof. Alright, so there we are. We're at the second set, I think. Hang on. Sorry guys, I gotta actually see. It's kind of hard. Because this program I'm using is awesome, but it's also kind of hard. I don't want to see this anymore. Close, edit, there we go. So like, because the colors look very similar, because it's monochrome, so it blends really easily. So I'm gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sets of stitches over and a quarter of 2. Alright, so thanks for letting me guys for a minute. So now that I know where we're going, so now that I know where we're going, I'm gonna pick. Did I just follow through here? Yeah, this is. Okay, there we go. So we're gonna go in. So I know you probably don't understand what I just said. That's totally fine. So we're gonna do 2 rows. So there's 1, see here, it's gonna get caught. This will be a lot easier to see when I start on the next color, which is gonna be a bit darker. So don't worry. I know you can see it on one, but you just can't see the itty bitty move, right? So there's two. So now we're gonna go over 4 additional stitches, but in rows of 2. So that was even for now, for this part. Now this is probably the harder part to record because I don't have my thingy. I don't have my camera. I have a camera at the moment. I'll have to figure out something, but it's fine. Everything's fine. So I chose Savvy just because so my name is unique to say the least, and it's hard for a lot of people to actually say. So I get Savvy a lot, or Sovie, or Bobby, especially over the phone, and names like that. But Savvy, not as my name, but as an adjective, is nice. I mean, I wish I was savvier, but it's fine, right? Savvier word, or is it more savvy? I think it's more savvy. You would think, as a former English teacher, I would know, but I did not. Since being abroad, I lost a lot of English skills. Not that anyone's probably listening, I can't tell, but you'll. But yeah, I lived abroad, so I lived in China for 2 years, and I was an English teacher, which I loved. I loved it. Just some bad things happened in China that I'm not fond of remembering, so it's fine. Everything's fine. And you're gonna hear me say that a lot. Because the more I say it, the more I say it. Not that I believe it, but I'll believe it eventually, right? Alright, so it's 1, 2, 3. Alright, we're on the 4th. We're on the 4th set. So I see one more set of 2, and then I can look at the pattern again. And I'm going to say this a few times that if you don't need repetition, just let me know. I'm really bad at it because it's just my brain. I repeat everything like a million times. It annoys everyone around me. But I'm not going to show you guys the pattern because I want it to be a surprise. But if you want the pattern, I will publish it eventually. I don't know how, but I will. Sometime. Probably Reddit, because that's where I've seen a lot of people share stuff like this. It was a digital pattern. I haven't even figured out how to print it yet because I'm lazy. So that's fine. Alright. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Alright, so now we've done an extra longer line. So now I'm going to look at the pattern again. Alright, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now we're just going to go over 3 on the top row, and then we'll continue over. Alright. Alright, so we're going to continue this 3 more on the top. So, pretty quick. And then I'm going to end up having to tie off and start a new strand with this string because I don't like skipping. So like some people, like in this area, if they stopped here, they would start down here, and then there would be there'd be extra thread between the two, and I don't like the extra thread between the two, so I just start a new one. So I'm gonna end up cutting the string in a moment, just because nobody will see it, especially if you frame it, and no one's gonna ever touch it again, but that's just the way it is. Alright, 1, 2, done. There, now that I'm done with this section, I'm gonna go back, put my string through all these extra strings. Now it is kind of hard to do it like this, but if you're patient, kind, and a pretty princess, you'll figure it out eventually. Now, again, most people, if they do this method, they only use like 2 or 3 strands, but I'm paranoid, so I'm gonna do as many as I can with this one string. There we go. I'm just gonna pull it through. Whoop. Make sure not to pull out of this. I'm just gonna pull it through. So now there's this nice line. It'll make it really hard for it to get ripped out. So now I'm gonna cut it. Again, not too short because I want to make sure that I cut everything after I'm done. And now I'm gonna knot this again because it's a new line, a new strand, and I like to get it as close to this edge as possible. So there, I've got like a centimeter or so from this beginning knot. So now I'm gonna try and double and maybe triple knot it because that one was kind of a tight knot. Alright, there's the double knot. You can just barely see it. So I'm just gonna knot it one more time because it's thick enough, but again, I'm paranoid. There, nope. I missed it. So I'm gonna quadruple knot it. There. Nice big knot. Really easy to see. Really easy to put in a new one. So now I'm going to take this moment to break. I'll be right back because I'm going to go show you my other hoops. Okay, so these are the ones you get in kits. They are a one-sided screw. They're wooden, and at one end it's thicker, so you can